Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Okay, good morning everybody. Welcome to Chassidus in the morning, 15 minutes to change your life. We're learning Usfartem Lachem, the Rebbe's 11th Maimon. So, we said yesterday, very short, that the question is, it says in the Pasuk Usfartem Lachem, Mishkan for yourself from the day after Shabbos. So why does it say the day after Shabbos? You should say the day after Pesach, the first day of Pesach. That's when actually you start counting. So he said, no, to understand that, we have to understand, and to the extent that they had to argue with the Tzedukim, that they thought it meant the day after Shabbos Ferocious, and the Chacham had to argue with them, which clearly indicates that this is not a very clear pasuk. So why not make it very clear? And so he said, no, to understand this, we have to understand the general, there's a three-step process of bringing the carbon Omer, then you have the Sefiras HaOmer, and then you have Shavuos. And they all go together. So we said, and when we started, we said we're going to talk about the pasuk. The pasuk says, "Mashcheni achrecha narutza, draw me after you, and we will run. Haveinu melech hadar, bring me to the king's private room." And we're saying that this is all connected with this process. So what happened? By Yetzias Mitzrayim, it was Hashem taking us out of Mitzrayim. Hashem Himself. We weren't on the level to be taken out, but Hashem, in His kindness, did it. And let's see. Yeah, we'll go from the middle of the second, right in the beginning. We'll go from the beginning of the second ice, the second chapter in the ice, second paragraph. So the explanation is like this: that the revelation that was on the first day of Pesach, it was an arousal from above. Because like it says, Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim, and therefore we'll serve Hashem on the mountain. The work that we put into it was only after Yetzias Mitzrayim. But whereas Yetzias Mitzrayim was from above to below. And I'll just explain, like let's say, for a marshal, like a story. There was a guy, and this is a famous story, I've told this before, that there was a guy wants to do Mivtayim, and he asked someone to put him tefillin. And so the guy's like, let me tell you a crazy story. So he said that he was in the Amazon rainforest with a friend of his, and they were walking around, and at one point an anaconda wrapped itself around his friend. An anaconda basically wraps itself around, and then it constricts your airways and makes you, and just squeeze you. And every time you breathe in, it closes, it tightens more, so it makes it hard for you to breathe until you pass out. And this was happening to his friend, and they're big, they can be like 10 foot, and they're strong. So he was struggling, and he was freaking out, and so these two guys are there, and this guy that sees his friend getting this is happening to him, and they're freaking out on what to do. You know, in the middle of the rainforest, no one there to help them, and the guy screams out, "Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad." Like he just, it's like his last few words before he's about to pass away. And suddenly the snake stops, and then it sort of goes away. And the guy's like, I was there, like I witnessed this. And he said, and whatever, that's the story. There's a motto, but that's the main point of the story. So what do we see here? We see that this guy that watched it, ultimately, he wasn't putting on tefillin anymore. His friend actually became mature. He started putting on tefillin every day, and he became more religious. So the guy asked him, he said, "Hey, 1 second, what happened? You saw this, but you're not, you said your friend became frum, but look at you. Why aren't you frum? You were also there." So he goes, "It didn't happen to me." But essentially what he's saying is, it was a Sefiras HaOmer. It was coming from above. It was a revelation from above, but it didn't affect me. That's Yetzias Mitzrayim. Yetzias Mitzrayim God took us out, but we hadn't changed. We were still the same people. It's like when you're in seminary or in yeshiva, you're in a good environment. The environment is coming and helping you, but it's not you yourself. You haven't done the avodah, and the main point is the avodah. And this is what it means in the pasuk. Mashcheni achrecha narutza haveinu melech hadarav, and he's going to explain the pasuk. Mashcheni draw me, pull me. That's koyala giluin jisntrayim shaya b'dech. Pull me means take me. It means we're not doing the effort. It means someone, something. In this case, God is pulling me, is taking me. Meaning, this is that revelation of Mitzrayim, that Hashem is schlepping us out of Mitzrayim. That Hashem is schlepping us out of the situation. Or like this person, he's schlepping me out of his galus, that he doesn't think God exists or whatever, and suddenly he's getting pulled, and suddenly the snake coming around is this God way of pulling him in. That what happened in Mitzrayim, that Hashem himself, King of Kings, revealed himself. That the Jewish people themselves, we were in the 49 levels of Tumah. We were in a very low level. But God himself revealed himself, and God took us out. He aroused our want to go. He pulled us out. And this is what it means, Shazehu inyan mashcheni. This is what it means, pull me. What do you mean pull me? It's coming. God himself is pulling us out. That's why it says mashcheni. It's in singular, lashon yachid. Why? Because ki agilu milamayla pal hazazar akman shalakis. What happened in Mitzrayim? And this we have to think about in ourselves in our lives. That if we wonder why we're not the same as we were before, or certain things happen and why it doesn't have long-lasting effect, it's because essentially we're only affecting the nefesh of alikis, like it's Mitzrayim. Mashcheni, pull me, singular, because Hashem caused an nefesh alikis to be able to come out. Of course, we physically left, but only the nefesh alikis had gone. Aval nefesh bahamis, yishashar nefesh alikis gagili ma'ilaz azaz rak nefesh alikis. Shirak nefesh alikis merageshes hagili milamayla. Only the nefesh alikis feels this revelation from above. Aval nefesh bahamis, but the nefesh bahamis and the Jewish people when they left Mitzrayim, and when we get inspired from God, nishara maimadu matzava. But the nefesh bahamis stays in this place. Meaning, if we get a revelation from God, we get excited by something, but it's not with our nefesh bahamis, so then it's all coming from above. The nefesh bahamis still stays the same. And this is what it means why it says that we ran away. What do you mean we ran away? Mavar ben Azak Alter explains, why do we have to run away? If Hashem tells Parah he has to send the Jewish people, they're not going to have to send us. So what's this idea that we had to run away? We're running. But the reason why we ran is because the Nefesh Bahamis was still stuck. He still wanted to be in Mitzrayim, unfortunately. The Nefesh Elokis wanted to go out. But why do we have to run? Because our Nefesh Elokis was still stuck. So we have to shlap him out quickly. Let's go. Before he thinks about what's going on, he's 1 second. I don't mind this. I have no problem with Galus. V'hainu meaning the kiv and shehagilui milamayla. Paul Azazarak Nefesh Elokis. Since what happened by Yitzias Mitzrayim, when God revealing himself, he only revealed himself to Nefesh Elokis. Only Nefesh Elokis felt it. Nefesh Bahamis, you ever talked to it. Nefesh Bahamis stayed at its strength. It's like we come out of bringing and we get excited, but the Nefesh Elokis gets excited, and we don't channel it or translate it to the Nefesh Bahamis. So what happens the next day? You go back to struggling, and why? But you're so excited and so inspired. The problem is the only thing that was inspired was the Nefesh Elokis. And Nefesh Bahamis is still stuck. That's why you have to be the running. The running is for the Nefesh Bahamis. We have to run, escape the Nefesh Bahamis because he wasn't so interested. But why essentially did this happen? And this is a very fundamental principle for us to understand in our Avodah. This is always a problem when it's coming from above. When your effect is the surrounding. When the reason why you're from is because you had an enjoyable time in the Chabad, or because you went to seminary and over there it really inspired you, or you're in a surrounding, let's say in Crown Heights, that you have a lot of people around you that are inspiring you, and you get very inspired. That's coming from Lamayla. It's not coming from yourself, from your own avodah. It's not coming from within you. It's coming from external. It excites you, but it only gets your nefesh Elokis. Your nefesh Bahamis is still stuck. In order to be able to get out of those situations, your nefesh Bahamis has to be running away. You have to run away, meaning because nefesh Bahamis he doesn't want to go. The Jewish people themselves, meaning the whole, the full person himself, we weren't ready for this. And that's why this revelation of God was only felt by the Nefesh Elokis. Because by the Nefesh Bahamis, he's still good in Mitzrayim. He's having a good time eating fish and whatever it was, and although he's struggling, but this is sort of the understand Nefesh Bahamis. Our Nefesh Bahamis, he doesn't want. It's not that he's a bad person and he wants the worst for you. It just doesn't appreciate what's good and what's right. So he'll want, he or she, whatever your version of Nefesh Bahamis is, I want to stay up late and watch a movie instead of getting up on time and davening and learning, or eat junk food for breakfast instead of having a proper healthy meal. It's going to have a good day. It's not because he wants to destroy your life. He just doesn't understand. He's not sensitive to these things. So we could be in Mitzrayim and we could enjoy it. Not because we truly enjoy Mitzrayim, it's because the Nefesh Bahamis doesn't understand it. Doesn't understand. And when godliness comes and reveals itself to us, when we go and we get inspired by Farengen or we are a shir or something, what happens that it's hard to go the next day or something from it because we haven't spoken to Nefesh Bahamis. We haven't shown him how to do it. But it's even more than this. Look what he says. After the revelation of Yitzias Mitzrayim, then what happens? We have the Sefiras HaOmer. We started working on ourselves, and every year we have this time to work on ourselves. Which is the work of working with ourselves from below to above. After you, we will run. Back to the pasuk. Remember, we said Mashcheni means pull me, means God's taking us out of Yitzias Mitzrayim from above to below. And then we say Acharecha narutza. After you, we will run. What does it mean? After you, we will run. Hainu she'ein ze ba'ofen mashcheni milamay lamata. It's not coming from God. Yitzias HaOmer is not that Hashem is inspiring us to work on ourselves. Ela ba'ofen sheharitza hi me'atzmei. Alein leifen. It's coming from ourselves. We're running. We're putting the effort. Who's we? Shezu aveda b'derech lamata lamayla. It's coming from below to above. Since it's coming from our effort, since we're the one putting in the effort, thought that we're inspired and that's it, but we're taking that inspiration and we're channeling it into doing practical things with our Nefesh Bahamis. Being it's coming from us, so then we can speak to Nefesh Bahamis. When you're at the Farengen and someone's speaking, inspiring you, your Nefesh Bahamis is not there, he's asleep or he's somewhere else. But when you start to speak to yourself and you work on yourself, you say, hey, what am I taking from this Farengen? What's going to be? Then you can start thinking about things, and also you have to understand. You say, 1 second, for I'll give you an example. So during Sefira, there's a custom amongst Chassidim to learn Masechta Seitim. So it's a daf a day, learn one double-sided page a day. It's 49 pages, 49 days, and that's the custom. And many people, like my friends and me as well, have a hard time doing it. Why? Because it's hard. It takes time. And also what it is, you get inspired. Nefesh case gets inspired. It wants to learn. Says, it gets excited. The first day spends an hour and a half learning through this daf and understanding it and forgetting about it and thinking about it and like getting all feeling all good about themselves. Nefesh Bahamis, he's still asleep. He doesn't know what's going on. But then what happens? Nefesh Bahamis wakes up. And you didn't suddenly add an extra hour and a half in your day. Something happened, something was removed. But Nefesh Bahamis wakes up and says, hey, what's going on? What are you doing now learning Gemara? We're busy doing whatever Nefesh Bahamis is doing. And then then suddenly it starts to get harder and harder, and you suddenly next thing you know, you're not doing it. For many years, and I've been trying to do this for many years, 10 years already, more. And what I learned this year, after speaking to Nefesh Bahamis, say, hey, how much time do we have? What do we want to focus on? What do we want to achieve? And this is a very important thing. When you have an inspiration or something, you have to figure out. Say, so I'm inspired. That's good. My Nefesh Elokis is inspired, but Nefesh Elokis needs to speak to Nefesh Bahamis. And Nefesh Bahamis, like, hey, what are we going to do? How do we like this? Or it could be, Nefesh Bahamis likes to listen to Hashem versus learning. Or it could be he likes to have a chaversa, to figure out what Nefesh Bahamis likes and work with it. So that was, like we said, that's why we said we run. But it's very interesting. It's Mashcheni, meaning God pulling us out. Acharecha, after you, Narutza, we will run. What does it mean, we? We said It means also nefesh b'hamis. And what does it mean, rutza? Lachem rabim. Shezeu poel gam hazon nefesh b'hamis. Shezeu gam yeah. Ki kasher havodah hi gam mitzad nefesh b'hamis. This is a beautiful idea that when you get the nefesh b'hamis involved, when you recognize how to deal with nefesh b'hamis and figure out how to implement it with the nefesh b'hamis, what happens? He runs. Kitev nefesh b'hamis hu shekasher nimshach le'ezeh davar. The nature of nefesh b'hamis, when he likes something, he runs. How you know? Nefesh b'hamis doesn't go slow. He runs. Either way you look at it. Either or he doesn't care about the elikus, he doesn't care at all. Or he runs after it. How you know? When you affect nefesh b'hamis, when you teach it in a way that he can understand, he appreciates nefesh b'hamis, he also wants it. So then you're running. And this is a very, we'll stop here, but this is a very important lesson that we're learning here. That the nefesh b'hamis, it's two important lessons. One is we have to recognize where nefesh b'hamis is. We have to see where it is, like where's my nefesh b'hamis speaking, and how do I get my nefesh b'hamis involved? Because if I get my nefesh b'hamis involved, then I can be super successful. But if I don't, then it's going to be a constant struggle. And that's sort of the trick. The trick of anything in life is to get both nefesh b'hamis and nefesh l'kis involved. That you have a nefesh l'kis, is interested about something. I want to learn, I want to daven, I want to be nicer to people, I want to have more obviously Yisrael, I want to come to more shiurim, whatever, I want to eat healthier, whatever it is. If you don't talk to yourself and ask and say, well, why hasn't it worked in the past? What's going on? What is nefesh b'hamis like? How can I convince my nefesh b'hamis? It could be that you say, I'm going to get up and learn, and this is like what I did, that I'm going to get up and learn, and I'm going to give myself a Danish or a coffee or whatever it is, a treat for getting up. That's what the nefesh b'hamis likes. But if that happens, you're able to get up. You had 2 hours sleep, you still got to get up. Why? The nefesh b'hamis, he's come along, he's joining you for the ride. Like he says here, or he doesn't care at all, or he runs. So we want to get him to run, and to be continued tomorrow.